I was supposed to say happy birthday. That's what I kept thinking while I stood in the hallway, frozen. I was holding a little bag of her favorite pastries, a handwritten note, and the necklace she once told me she'd never buy for herself. 35. I remembered. She didn't forget it was her birthday. She just forgot about me. She thought I was working late. That morning, I kissed her on the forehead and said, "I'll be home after 7, back-to-back meetings." She mumbled something, still half asleep, rolled over, and pulled the blanket tighter. I took the day off instead. I wanted to surprise her. Stopped by that bakery she liked on the east side, even though the parking there is a nightmare. Picked up the almond croissants, a tiny bottle of Prosecco, and the same card I've bought her every year for the past 5 years, the one with the little cartoon giraffe and a birthday hat. She laughed the first time, said it was dumb. I kept getting it anyway. I even wore the cologne she said reminded her of our first vacation together. It was all supposed to be a surprise. I parked around the block so she wouldn't hear me pull in. I crept up the stairs like a kid planning a prank, soft steps, holding my breath. I still remember the feeling I had right before I opened the door. Warm, excited, nervous. I was thinking, maybe she'll cry. Maybe she'll be overwhelmed. Maybe this is exactly what we need, to feel close again. Instead, I opened the door and walked straight into a wall of silence. Not quiet. Stillness. The kind of stillness that tells you something's off before your brain has time to figure out what. The TV wasn't on. Music wasn't playing. There were no dishes in the sink, no candles, no smells of dinner. But there were shoes by the door. Men's shoes. Not mine. Brown leather. Clean. Laced neatly, like they hadn't been kicked off in a hurry. That's when I heard the laugh. Not loud. Not forced. Soft. Familiar. Intimate. I moved down the hall, my heart thudding loud enough that I could feel it in my teeth. The door to the bedroom wasn't fully closed. It didn't have to be. Her voice. Then his. Then silence. Then a sound that didn't belong in the middle of the day with the sun still coming through the blinds. I stepped closer, just enough. And there she was. Sasha. My wife. In my T-shirt. The old concert one with the faded print she always borrowed when doing laundry. She wasn't doing laundry today. She was lying in bed, propped on one arm, smiling. The kind of smile you give when you forget there's a world outside that might be watching. There was a man beside her. I couldn't see much of him. Just a leg, a hand, and enough of his face to know I'd never seen him before. His fingers were running along her shoulder. She didn't flinch. She laughed at something he said. She touched his chest like it was hers to touch. I didn't stay long. Didn't speak. Didn't cry. I walked backward, slowly. Like if I made a sound, I'd break the spell. Or maybe wake up. I stepped out the door and closed it behind me like I was afraid of letting the heat out. The birthday bag was still in my hand. I drove for 30 minutes before I even knew where I was going. I didn't tell anyone that day. Didn't scream. Didn't drink. I went home, to the guest room in our house I suddenly felt like a stranger in, and lay down with my shoes still on. She called me later, casually, like nothing happened. Asked why I didn't come back. Said she missed me. I said traffic was bad. She laughed and told me to be safe. And then, just before hanging up, "You didn't forget my birthday, did you?" I said, "No. I'll make it up to you tomorrow." But I already knew I wouldn't. Tomorrow was the day I'd stop pretending. I didn't sleep. I lay on the guest bed with my shoes still on, staring at the ceiling in the dark, barely blinking. The house was silent. Not peaceful, just empty. The kind of silence that follows after something inside you is broken. At some point during the night, I heard the bedroom door click shut. Soft footsteps down the hallway. The fridge door opened. A glass of water. Maybe. Then nothing again. She never checked on me. I guess she figured I'd stayed with a friend, or worked late and crashed in the other room. I never answered her call, and she never asked. When morning came, I stayed in bed, still wearing the same clothes I'd worn to surprise her. The croissants were probably still in the car. I didn't care. Everything felt far away, like I was floating a few feet behind my own life. And then a humming, from the kitchen, soft and casual, like a woman getting ready for brunch. The kind of hum you do when you don't have a single care in the world. I recognized the melody, some old song she used to play when cleaning. That's when it really hit me. She wasn't sorry, because she didn't know I knew. And right then, I made a decision. I wasn't going to confront her. Not yet. I needed to see what she'd do when she thought I was still in the dark. When I finally walked into the kitchen, she turned from the stove like nothing had happened, still barefoot, wearing my college hoodie, the one I'd seen her in the day before, tangled up with him. "Morning, sleepyhead," she said with a smile, like it was just another Saturday. I forced a nod. "Morning." She pushed a plate toward me. "Eggs. Toast. My usual." "You missed dinner last night," she said. "You okay?" I swallowed hard. "Just tired." She leaned in and kissed my cheek. I didn't move. She didn't notice. "You've been working too much," she said. "You always disappear this time of year." "Right. Blame work." She sat across from me, sipping her coffee, legs curled under her like we were still happy. Like I hadn't seen her laughing in bed with someone else less than 24 hours ago. "So," she said lightly, "any plans for today?" I shrugged. "Thought you had dinner with the girls tonight?" She perked up. "I do. We're going to that new tapas place downtown. You'd hate it. All tiny plates and kale." She laughed. I managed a small smile. "Sounds fun." She nodded and took another sip. But in that moment, something shifted. I saw it in her eyes, the flicker of relief, like she'd been watching for a sign that I knew, and just got her answer. I didn't give her one. I played dumb, because I needed time. Time to see how deep this went. Time to find out who he was. Time to gather what I needed, not just for closure, but for something else. I wasn't ready to make a scene, but I wasn't going to stay quiet forever, not even close. By Monday morning, I had a name. Not from her, of course not, but from her phone. She left it on the counter when she went to shower, just like she always did. I never used to look through it, never even thought about it. I trusted her. That was the sick part. But now? Now I picked it up like it was evidence. I didn't go straight to the messages. That would have been obvious. Instead, I opened her recent calls. She'd cleared most of them, except one. JD. No picture, no last name, just initials. But I recognized the number. I'd seen it before flashing on her screen months ago when we were watching a movie, and she rushed to the kitchen to answer. "Work call," she said. Liar. I wrote the number down and put her phone back where I found it. She never noticed. Later that day, while she was out running errands, I searched the number online, found a LinkedIn profile. A name, Jared Dinsmore. Brand strategist. Mid-30s. Tall, shaved head, yoga smile. Same company she worked for. Same building. Of course. I scrolled further and found his wedding photos on Facebook. He was married, 2 kids. One of those couples who looked like they hiked on weekends and took Christmas card photos and matching sweaters. I wondered if his wife knew. I wondered how many times she'd sat across from him at dinner and felt that same nagging gut pull I'd ignored. I took screenshots of everything. Then I opened a blank document on my laptop and titled it, "If it comes to this." Not evidence. Not affair. Just if. I wasn't planning anything yet. Not officially. But I was done pretending it wasn't real. That night, Sasha was all over me. She came into the living room wearing one of those old, soft t-shirts she knew I liked, curled up beside me on the couch like nothing had changed. Like the last few months of distance were just a bad phase we were getting through. She kissed me, light, behind the ear. "You've been quiet lately," she said. "Everything okay?" I nodded. "Just tired." She leaned in closer. "Maybe we should take a trip. Get away for a weekend. Like old times." "Yeah," I said. "Maybe." But inside, I was screaming. Because this performative affection, this wasn't guilt. This was strategy. She thought I was pulling away, and she didn't want that. Not because she loved me, but because she needed the cover. And maybe because she liked having both lives. The safety of me, the thrill of him. Later that night, she showered. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. I walked past like I wasn't looking, but I was. And on the screen, just for a second, I saw the message. JD. Wish I could have stayed longer. She didn't delete it fast enough this time. She still didn't know I'd seen it, but I had. And I was done doubting. Something shifted after that message. Not in her, in me. I stopped pretending I didn't know. I still acted like it, sure, but inside, I wasn't looking for answers anymore. I was collecting them. It was different now. I noticed every excuse, every late night, every slip-up. I started seeing her the way you look at a stranger, curious, detached, and a little scared of what they're capable of. A week after the birthday, she said she was going to meet her friend Danielle for dinner. Danielle and Sasha used to be close, until Danielle moved to a different city. So when she brought her name up, I nodded like I believed it. But I texted Danielle. We'd only spoken once or twice, small talk at a Christmas party, but she replied quickly, "Hey, I wish I was in town, but I haven't seen Sasha in months." Why? That was all I needed. I didn't respond. I just stared at her message until the screen dimmed. Then I turned it off and sat in the dark for a while. Sasha got home late that night, past midnight. She smelled like perfume, not hers. She tiptoed into the bedroom like a teenager sneaking in after curfew. I watched her from the hallway, quietly. She didn't see me. She didn't even check if I was awake. Just took off her shoes, washed her face, and slid under the covers, humming to herself. That hum again. Like she was content. Like nothing was wrong. The next morning, I made her coffee. She blinked in surprise. "You're up early." "Yeah," I said. "Thought I'd try something different." She took the mug and sipped, smiling. "You're sweet." I smiled back. She had no idea I'd installed a voice recorder in her car the night before. Tiny thing. Slides right under the seat. Picks up everything. I ordered it 2 days ago. Same day I bought a burner phone and a small GoPro. It sounds paranoid, I know, but I needed proof, not just for me. I needed something I couldn't talk myself out of. Because sometimes, when she touched my hand or laughed at my jokes, I almost believed the lie again. Almost. Later that week, I got my first full recording. I listened to it alone in the garage, sitting in the car with the engine off. Static, then car doors. Keys. Then her voice. "You always smell like vanilla and trouble," she said. His voice replied, low. "You said that last time." They laughed. "Are you ever going to tell him?" Why would I? He doesn't suspect a thing. Silence. Then sounds I won't describe. But that's when I knew, without a doubt, that this wasn't some short-lived thing. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a moment of weakness. This was a life she had built in parallel, and she was proud of it. That night, I sat across from her at dinner. She told me about her lunch meeting and how the new client was super demanding. I nodded. I smiled. I told her I loved her. And I meant it, but not the way she thought. I loved the idea of who I thought she was. But that person didn't exist anymore. She'd buried him next to the version of me that used to trust her. I waited 2 more weeks before I did anything. Not because I was unsure. I wasn't. But because I wanted to be precise. This wasn't going to be a screaming match in the kitchen. This was going to be surgery. And for that, I needed one more piece. I needed her, not Sasha. Jared's wife. Her name was Ellie. I found her through his Facebook. It wasn't hard. Family photos, location tags, a shared small business page. She ran a bakery out of their home. Cupcakes. Wedding cakes. The kind of soft, homey stuff Sasha used to pretend she cared about. I didn't reach out right away. I saved her contact. Watched. Waited. Then one afternoon, after Sasha left for a late team meeting, I sat in my car, staring at Ellie's business page. There was a contact number, a personal one, probably her cell. I dialed. She picked up on the second ring. "Hi, Ellie speaking." Her voice was calm, warm, tired. I paused. "Hi, you don't know me. My name's Mark. I think we need to talk. It's about your husband." There was a silence, just a second too long. Then her voice again, but not calm anymore. "Is this a prank?" "No. I wish it was." Another pause. "What about my husband?" "He's been seeing my wife." The words felt like glass in my mouth, but once I said them, I couldn't stop. Her name's Sasha. They work together. I didn't know until recently. I've got proof. Ellie didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just said, "Where can we meet?" We sat across from each other in the back corner of a quiet cafe downtown. I brought a printed photo of Jared and Sasha, one I'd pulled from our home security camera, the night he left, smiling, hand on her back. Ellie looked at it for a long time. She didn't blink. Then she pulled out her phone, opened her gallery. "Is this your wife?" It was Sasha, in Jared's truck, holding coffee, leaning in, smiling. They looked like they'd been together for years. We exchanged more photos, messages, dates. Her hands shook a little, not from rage, from restraint. "How long?" she asked. "I don't know exactly," I said, "but long enough to be this comfortable." She nodded. I had a feeling. We sat there a while longer, not saying much, just existing in the same air. Both of us trying to reconcile the lives we thought we had with the ones we were suddenly standing in. Then she looked up. What are you going to do? I don't know yet. You should. She closed her phone and stood. If you ever want to go to war, she said, you won't have to go alone. Then she left. That night, Sasha came home early. I was at the kitchen table, staring at nothing. She kissed the top of my head and asked what I wanted for dinner. I said, whatever. She didn't notice the shift. Or maybe she did. But by then, she was too deep in her lies to crawl out. And I was done giving her chances. By the end of that week, I had enough to end our marriage 3 times over. Texts, voicemails, photos, voice recordings from her car, and now Ellie forwarding screenshots from Jared's phone, things he was too dumb to delete and too arrogant to hide. He told Ellie it was just flirting. She sent me a screenshot where Sasha said, "Sometimes I forget what silence feels like. You're the only thing I hear now." It wasn't flirting. It was a relationship, and I had evidence of every inch of it. I kept playing the part. That was the hardest part, honestly. Pretending. We still had dinners, still watched shows, still shared a bed, though I stayed near the edge, and she never noticed. She was so sure she had me wrapped up in the lie. But small cracks started showing. Like one night, when I asked casually, "How's Jared? I remember you mentioned him before." She paused, just for a second, but it was enough. "Oh, he's fine. I don't really talk to him anymore. We're on different teams now." Lie. She texted him less than 2 hours earlier. Ellie had sent me a screen capture with a timestamp. I just nodded, didn't call her on it, let her believe she was still in control, because soon she wouldn't be. That weekend, I asked if she wanted to go out of town. She blinked. "Really?" "Yeah," I said. "You said you wanted to take a trip. Thought we could head to the cabin for a few days." Her face lit up. She didn't even ask what changed my mind. Of course she didn't. She thought I was trying again. She had no idea I wanted her isolated. No distractions. No excuses. I wanted her away from him, and away from signals, and friends, and backups, so I could watch her crumble when I took the mask off. The cabin was 3 hours north. We used to love it. Long drives, loud music, stopping for greasy sandwiches at the gas station halfway there. This time, it was quiet. She talked the whole way up, about work, about Danielle, about a movie she wanted to see. I just nodded, smiled, let her keep going. Every lie she told now just made things easier later. At one point, she reached over and touched my hand. "I miss this," she said, and I wondered if she was talking to me or just the idea of me, the man she wanted me to keep pretending to be. We got to the cabin around dusk. It looked the same as always: old wood, creaky floorboards, the smell of pine needles and burnt firewood. We made dinner, drank wine. She curled up next to me on the couch like we were fine. She didn't know that in my jacket pocket was a folder. Printouts, photos, transcripts, copies of the messages she'd sent, the ones she deleted from her phone, the ones Ellie had kept. I didn't plan to confront her that night. I wanted one more day, one more crack. I wanted her to hand me the moment herself. And the next morning, she did. We were sitting on the porch drinking coffee when she said, "You know, I've been thinking. I'm really lucky. Not many people would put up with me, with how busy I've been, and how disconnected I got for a while." She paused, looked at me. "But you stayed. And I swear to God, I don't know how I kept my face still." I just nodded and said, "Yeah, I stayed." But inside, I had already left. The morning was quiet, too quiet for what was coming. She was still inside, brushing her hair in the mirror, while I sat on the porch finishing my second cup of coffee. My hand wasn't shaking, which surprised me. I thought it would. The folder was sitting on my lap. It had weight, not just from the paper, from what was inside it, from everything it meant. Truth is, I didn't know exactly how this would go. I'd played it over in my head 100 different ways. Her crying, denying, getting angry, laughing it off, walking out. But none of those versions felt real, because in every version, she was someone I still understood. Now, I didn't know her at all. She stepped outside, barefoot, with her mug of coffee. "God, I love this place," she said. "We should come more often." I looked up at her. "Sit down," I said. She gave me a half smile. "What? Like an intervention?" "Something like that." She laughed, then saw my face, and her smile faltered. She sat down, and I placed the folder between us. Her eyes didn't go to it right away. She kept looking at me. What's this? Open it. She did. And the first thing she saw was a photo of her and Jared in his car. Her hand on his chest, his mouth near her neck. She didn't even touch the next page. Just stared at that one. For a long time. Then finally, she looked up. Where did you get this? Not, it's not what it looks like. Not, I can explain. Just, where did you get this? And that told me everything. You left your phone unlocked, I said. A few times. I didn't go looking for this, Sasha. But once I saw the first message, I could not see the rest. She swallowed, still not crying. Look, it didn't mean. Don't, I said quietly. She stopped. I pointed at the folder. There are transcripts of your messages, screenshots, voice recordings from your car, dates, times. I know about the fake dinners. I know about Danielle, who, by the way, hasn't been in town in months. Her face went pale. I kept going. I've spoken to Ellie, Jared's wife. She knows everything. She's seen it all. We met 2 weeks ago. That hit her like a slap. She opened her mouth, then closed it. I wanted to believe it was a mistake, I said. Even after I saw you in bed with him, I gave myself a night to pretend maybe I was wrong. Maybe it was something else. But you didn't even notice. You didn't notice me acting different. You didn't notice when I pulled away. You were too busy making sure he felt loved. Silence. Then, finally, she spoke. I didn't plan for it to happen. I didn't mean. You did. I wasn't yelling. Just stating a fact. You didn't mean to. You planned. You lied. You protected it. You buried it. You kept it alive. She leaned forward, her voice shaking now. Mark, please. Don't do this. We can fix this. I stared at her. Fix what? This. Us. I'll end it. I'll block him. I'll quit my job. We can go to therapy. We can lie to each other in a new location. She looked away. I let the silence sit between us. Then I said, you killed us, Sasha. You just didn't bury the body. She flinched. I'm not going to scream at you. I'm not going to hit walls or throw things. That's not who I am. I stood up. But I'm not staying either. Her eyes widened. Wait, you're leaving now? Just like that? No, I said. You are. I handed her the keys to my car. I'd already packed a bag for her. Left it by the door inside. She didn't fight. She took the keys. Walked back inside. When she came out, she didn't say anything. Didn't look at me. She just drove away. And I stood on the porch alone. Not relieved. Not angry. Just done. 3 days after Sasha left the cabin, I walked into a law office and handed a folder to a man named Eric Becker, family law attorney. Old school, calm voice, sharp eyes. The kind of guy who looks at a situation and already knows how it ends before you've even finished telling him what happened. He skimmed through the papers while I sat across from him. When he finished, he looked up and asked, "She doesn't know you're filing yet?" "Not yet," I said. "She thinks I just want space." He nodded once. "Keep it that way. We'll move fast." Then he pulled out a clean legal pad and got to work. Over the next week, Eric gathered everything. Timeline, evidence, witnesses. Ellie sent over a sworn statement, dates, names, screenshots of Sasha texting Jared while she and I were on vacation. Sasha saying she was stuck in traffic, while she was actually at a hotel Jared had used before, one of those hidden-on-purpose business class spots on the outskirts of town. We even got financial records. Sasha had been using our joint credit card to buy gifts, gas, dinner. She'd Venmoed Jared once under a fake label, reimbursement, team lunch. It was disgusting, not because she spent money, but because she spent our money building a secret life with someone else. I printed every charge and paper-clipped it to the timeline. Sasha, meanwhile, tried to get back in. First, a message. "Can we talk? I don't want it to end this way." Then a voicemail. "I know you're hurt. I'm not defending what I did, but we had something real. Please don't throw it away without giving us a chance." I didn't answer. The next day, she showed up at the house. I didn't let her in. I opened the door just enough to pass her a letter certified from Eric's office. Notice of petition for divorce, fault-based adultery. Request for exclusive use of marital residence. Request for financial disclosures. Her face went white. She looked up at me, trembling. You're taking this to court? I already did. She stared at me like she didn't recognize the man in front of her. Because she didn't. She'd never met this version of me, the one who didn't chase, who didn't beg, who didn't try to patch up what someone else had destroyed. You're serious, she whispered. I didn't respond. She blinked, backed up a step, looked down at the envelope in her hands like it was some kind of bomb. Then she turned and walked away. No crying, no screaming, just shock. Because for the first time since the day we met, I was the one who walked away first. That night, I called Ellie, told her everything was filed. She didn't celebrate, just let out a breath and said, "Good. They don't get to win." "No," I said. "They don't." We hung up, and for the first time in weeks, I slept all the way through the night. It didn't take long for Sasha to get a lawyer. I expected that. What I didn't expect was the angle they took. They tried to flip the story. Suddenly, I was emotionally distant, neglectful, a workaholic who checked out of the marriage long before she ever crossed the line. Classic move. When the facts are against you, attack the character. Her attorney sent over a letter calling my petition retaliatory and suggesting we settle quickly, divide assets, avoid court, minimize reputational damage to both parties. Eric read it, chuckled. Then he pulled out the folder and said, "Let's give them reputational damage." The courtroom was quiet. Just the clack of shoes on polished tile, the low murmur of paperwork, the occasional cough from someone who forgot to silence their phone. Sasha sat across from me at the petitioner's table, flanked by her attorney. She looked tired, pale, dressed in a soft gray blazer, trying, I think, to look gentle, sympathetic. I didn't look at her long. Judge came in, gavel down, case called. We began. First came the timeline, then the expenses, then the audio clips, short ones, clear ones. Her voice, Jared's voice, words that didn't need explaining. Her lawyer objected. Judge allowed them in. Then we brought in Ellie. She walked in with her head high and no makeup, holding a binder of printed messages and call logs. She spoke quietly, clearly, explained the dual affair, how Sasha had continued the relationship even after she knew Jared had 2 kids, how Sasha had called Ellie a loose end in a message Jared thought he deleted. The judge blinked at that one. Sasha looked down, didn't say a word. Then it was Sasha's turn. She took the stand, swore in. Her voice trembled a little at first. "I made a mistake," she said. "I didn't handle things right, but I didn't do this out of cruelty. I was lonely. Mark and I had been drifting for years." She kept her eyes down, like a kid reading an apology out loud to a teacher. "I never meant to hurt him. I didn't think it would go that far. I thought I could manage it, but I lost control." She looked over at me, the first time during the entire hearing. "I know I betrayed him, and I'm sorry, truly, but I don't think that makes me evil. I think it makes me human." For a second, the room was quiet. Then Eric stood. "Did you tell Mr. Dinsmore you loved him?" She hesitated. "Once." He handed her a paper. "Is this your message saying, quote, 'Being with you makes me feel more real than my whole marriage ever did'?" She blinked. Yes. I said that." He nodded. No further questions. She stepped down and sat with her hands clenched in her lap. The judge didn't issue a ruling that day, said he'd review everything. But as I left the courtroom, I saw something in Sasha's face I hadn't seen in a long time. Fear. Not the kind that comes from getting caught. The kind that comes from losing control and knowing it's not coming back. I got the call on a Wednesday. Eric's voice was steady. We got the ruling. I was standing in the garage where I'd first listened to the recordings. The sun was leaking through the side window. Everything felt still. "You ready for this?" he asked. "I've been ready," I said. And I meant it. The judge ruled in my favor. On every count that mattered. Adultery, proven. Marital fault, established. Exclusive use of the home, granted. Primary control over our joint accounts and remaining assets, assigned to me. She wouldn't be walking away with half. She'd be walking away with what was fair, and nothing more. Her team tried to appeal, said the ruling was harsh, that emotions shouldn't dictate financial outcomes. But it wasn't emotions that sank her. It was her own words, her own choices, her own double life. The court didn't care how many Instagram posts she deleted afterward, or how tearfully she tried to repaint the story. They had the receipts. So did I. We finalized the divorce in a private session. Just the lawyers, the judge, and the two of us, sitting on opposite sides of the room, separated by silence. When it ended, she turned to me. There was no script this time, no speech, no dramatic apology. Just her, standing there, small. I didn't think you'd really go through with it, she said. I looked at her, and for the first time in months, I didn't feel anything. No anger, no pain, no questions, just peace. You never really saw me, I said. That's the problem. You thought I'd stay because I always had. Then I stood up, walked out of the room, and didn't look back. It's been 6 months now. She moved out of state. Jared's not in the picture anymore. Ellie told me he moved out a month after the hearings. I guess he finally realized what she was capable of when it wasn't behind someone else's back. I don't ask about them. I don't care. Ellie and I still text sometimes. Not like that. Just two people who walked through the same fire and came out the other side with the scars to prove it. There's no neat bow to this story. No happy ending where I suddenly fall in love again or say I'm grateful for the pain. But I will say this. I'm not the same man I was before that birthday. I'm sharper now, quieter, slower to trust, maybe, but free. And that's enough.